Hey everybody, it's Tim and Steve from Phantom History House. How are you doing tonight, Steve?
I'm good. Hello, everybody. Happy to be
And
here.
we're talking about EVPs.
Yes, electronic voice phenomena with the guy who knows a whole lot about them.
Yeah, I don't know if anybody in the world practically knows as much as Vic does. So anyway, welcome everybody to another episode of Phantom History House Calls.
I still love that intro. It makes me laugh every time.
So we have a lot going on.
We do have a lot going on. The B&B has been very busy, and we have also been out and about a little bit, and we will be out and about this weekend.
That's right. It is Tampa Pride this Saturday, and we are going to be being prideful and free psychic tarot card readings.
Yes, our friends at the Speakeasy have invited us in, so we are going to be there from noon until 4 p.m. on
Saturday. Yeah, this Saturday, the 23rd.
The 23rd.
That's right. We will be at the Speakeasy Lounge right there in Ybor, right next to where all the Pride festivities are being held. And we hope that you will come see us.
Yeah, it's on 15th Street. And remember, the Speakeasy Lounge is a former church, has been many different things over its life, but now it is run by our friends, Kat and Evan. And they say that it is very haunted there. And I also did a podcast about the Speakeasy that you can listen to.
And that's a good one, everybody, because that is some creepy stuff.
Yes. And I'm really excited that we're taking our friend Kristen Giesling with us, who is the Mindful Seer, who's going to be doing the tarot card readings. And I cannot wait to get her impression of the place.
Yeah, you will love her. And hopefully come on down between 12 and 4 this coming Saturday. Get a free reading, see us, talk about the B&B, enjoy the very cool Speakeasy Lounge. Everybody just needs to see it.
Yeah, it is. It's like the Phantom History House, except for it's more of a horror theme, and it is so well done. And they've done so many very cool things in there. So definitely worth checking out. You can have a drink, you can have a cocktail, you can even have a cup of tea. So
yeah, it's really good. And we recently had another seance with the wonderful Brian Kowalski, Big Mama.
Yes,
it was really a good one. There's another one coming up in May and in June. Those dates are on our website at phantomhistoryhouse.com. So go sign up. Yeah. And then for readings too.
Yeah. And May is easy to remember. It's on Star Wars Day. May the 4th be with you, and come and see Brian and get your readings done.
So we need to talk about EVPs.
Absolutely.
Let's bring in the man of the hour.
Absolutely. Let's welcome Vic Chewning. I have known Vic for a little while now. And I'm so glad to finally have him on here. Hey, Vic, how are you doing tonight?
Hi, guys. How are you?
We are doing well, and I'm so glad that we get a chance to talk to you here on Facebook Live, Instagram, YouTube, about what it is that you do, because a little bit of background for anybody watching. I met you way back in like 2018, 2019 or so, when I first started the Phantom History podcast, and we talked about EVPs, and you kind of introduced me to what they were. So in your own words, Vic, can you explain to anybody listening, kind of like on a novice level, what is an EVP exactly?
It's communication with what I firmly believe to be spirits. And yes.
And you're still hiding out. And you're
wrong. Sorry, trying different camera angles. There we go.
But it is caught only through electronic means, right? It's not something you usually hear.
No, it can. You can. There's a couple of ways that you can hear these voices. One is disembodied, which you can actually hear with your ear. You can do it with the radio, with the frequencies, and then you can also catch them on recorder. Yeah, there's several ways you can do it.
I was just gonna say there's so many ways to do it, and I think just since you and I connected several years ago, it has already evolved a little bit. You use, before we go into deep EVPs, you use what is called a spirit box quite often.
Correct.
To listen. What does a spirit box do exactly? And then once you explain it, I want to play like a clip of you actually doing this.
Okay. Well, what it does is it's a modified radio. Actually, I have one right here. It's a radio, and it sweeps through the different frequencies. You can run it forward. You can run it in reverse. You can run it in a lot of different configurations, and you actually can hear voices that come through the box. You can ask questions, and you can get real-time answers.
And what's so amazing is you really have to train your ear to be able to pick up those answers, and you definitely have this skill.
And I'm glad you said that. No, I'm glad
absolutely.
you said that because that's how I started. All I had was the box, and all you could hear was static. And so
Mhm.
I trained myself to just block that all out.
Right.
And then I could hear the responses better.
Right, and you definitely have that. I don't have that skill. It takes a lot of patience as well. And I want to show, actually, this was the day we met in Philippi Park years ago. You kind of showed me how a spirit box works. So I want to play this video real quick for anybody watching, so you can kind of see what this device does.
What about female spirits? Are there any female spirits with us? Thank you for speaking.
So that's just a very short clip of like 8 minutes that I recorded of you doing that. And during that time, I know we picked up some voices, male and female. We did get some live responses as well. Oh, hey, Holly, good to see you. And hello, Annie. Thank you for hopping on and supporting Vic. Nice to meet you. Welcome to our page. Tell me a little bit about that day in Philippi Park, if you remember. I know there were some things that happened later, but tell me about that experience that day in the park with me.
Yeah, that was really strange because when we got done, it was really great meeting you. I was very excited. Anytime I talk about this, I get overly excited. And so I packed up everything and I didn't even turn my meters off that I use. I use a ghost meter and what's called a K2 meter, and they measure electromagnetic frequencies. Anyway, I threw them in the bag thinking nothing of it. And I get in the car, and as soon as I pulled out onto the highway, Felipe Parkway, the ghost meter goes crazy. And I can hear it going off in the bag. And I'm thinking, oh, well, it rolled up against something. So I reached over and grabbed it, and it's going crazy. I put it down on the seat, still kept going. 40 minutes to my house, it went off. Walked from the car to my porch. I'm not allowed to have anything in my house per my wife. So I put it down on the porch table, went and got her. And I said, you will not believe this. Something jumped from Felipe Park when I was talking to Steve, and it's still here. And I actually, she came out, said, hi, it's nice to meet you. Don't come in my house. And then she came back in. And then I asked it several questions. The last being, do you mean me any harm? And it went beep, beep, beep. And I said, thank you.
Okay.
And so I've had some things follow me home.
And of course, that's one thing I always ask paranormal investigators is, has it ever happened? And what do you do to prevent it from happening? Is this something you can prevent from happening with electronic devices?
I think you can only, they can jump on anything. They can jump on you. They can jump on your equipment. We do different rituals and we use different stuff like sage and things like that. I think a lot of this has to do, and I'm a firm believer in this, and that's your faith.
Right.
It's what keeps you. It's what keeps you. And I've been jumped. I was afflicted for about a week one time, and I was just angry. And then I finally walked out one morning, and it was like it was the first day I had ever seen. It was just amazing.
Yeah, that heavy weight can be with you. And everybody who's watching, this is Vic Chewning. If you just tuned in, we are talking about electronic voice phenomena and also the spirit box. So if you have any questions, type those in the comments, and I will do my best to ask those to Vic. And Vic, I wanted to ask you about, I don't know if the right term is the more traditional EVPs, but I know when I first heard of EVPs before I met you, it was voices that were caught on audio, like in a typical recording that you didn't hear live, but you heard on the playback.
Yes.
That's different than the spirit box EVPs, correct?
Well, everything that you play back, when you're doing the spirit box, some responses you'll hear come right through the speaker. A lot of times you won't hear them. They get laid down on the tape, and then you'll hear them on the playback. Now I hear a lot of stuff that comes through, but I record every single thing I do, every single thing, because you never know what's going to come through.
Right, and then you have to listen to it all again, which takes a lot of time.
Yeah.
So that's where the patience comes in that we were talking about before.
Yeah.
You and I have gone on investigations with our friends Feeling Paranormal. We went to the Victory Ship over the summer. I know you were a part of that.
Yeah.
We had Feeling Paranormal out here at the house who did an overnight investigation. I know you weren't able to make it for that one, but they caught some really interesting things inside Phantom History House. And I wanted to play a couple of those for you, and also to kind of illustrate to anybody listening or watching what these kind of sound like and what we're listening for. So here's one that was caught on the staircase. And you're going to see a video. You're going to see shadows. It's people upstairs, but it's all about listening and what you hear. So we're going to play that real quick, and then I want to get your feedback on it.
Did you give us a million? It could be a good idea. I think the fact that you're looking at the water here, I think that's yes.
So there was a sentence in there, and you may have heard it, and I'm happy to play it one more time. So let's hit it play one more time, and you'll hear it right around the 9-second mark.
Did you give us a million? It could be a good idea. I think the fact that you're looking at the water here, I think that's yes.
So Vic, I don't know if you could pick that up or not.
No.
Okay.
Not from that. I have seen that clip.
I know you have.
And
there's a
I know
couple
what
of
it
them. So we're going to play it one more time and listen for the phrase, "We know you're here."
Okay.
Did you give us a million? It could be a good idea. I think the fact that you're looking.
I heard it.
Yeah. And that's what's so amazing about these EVPs is kind of once you know what you're listening for, you hear it so clearly. So we have a question that has come through from one of our viewers. Looks like it's Holly. She wants to ask you a professional opinion on something. What do you recommend in terms of a spirit box app? And also, where can you get a good spirit box? Good questions.
Okay. Firstly, I'm not a big believer in apps, but I will recommend one thing, and it's Hope Spirit app, HOPE, and I've caught some pretty good stuff on it. It was very surprising to me, but I caught voices that came through that I don't think even should have come through it.
What
like
do you
a
mean
guy,
by that?
yeah, a guy said to me, "I'll fight." It was really odd. It's not a program, and this thing is so jumbled and mixed up that there's no way. The only way you're going to get that is if those things are put together.
Right.
And something has to manipulate that to do it. But as far as apps go, I'm not a big guy on it, but that one I really do like a lot. Hope.
Okay. HOPE. And as far as like the physical spirit box, where does somebody get one of these? Where do they come from?
You can go to GoStop. You can go to Amazon. They're not all that expensive. They got a new one out. It's called the SB7T, and that's it right there.
Okay.
It's not very expensive, and I highly recommend it. The first one I had, a young lady wanted to do spirit communication, so I gifted it to her. So I ended up getting another one, and I'm so happy I did. I've got other ones, but that's my favorite go-to right there.
Right. I was just going to ask, it sounds like it's the one that you use most often, the one you're most comfortable with. And also, I wanted you to talk a little bit about in terms of developing the skill behind listening for these EVPs or listening to the spirit box to catch these. How long did it take you to kind of hone in on what to listen for, or did it kind of come naturally to you?
No, well, the first time, and if you don't mind me saying this, the group that I got my start from, I saw them on YouTube, Illinois Paranormal Research Association, and they also have it's called Believe, a paranormal experience. Please check them out on YouTube. But I heard these two guys, John and David, and I was hooked. As soon as I heard them, what they were doing, I'm like, you got to be kidding me.
Right.
And then the following Christmas, mine came from Santa. I've been doing it ever since. But it took me a long time. And I'm talking like months of listening. And then eventually, I just didn't hear the white noise anymore. And to this day, I mean, if I have to do it that way, I will. But I have other methods now that I find much more progressive and to my liking. And that's the portal. The portal is my premier piece of equipment.
Now, is the portal and a spirit box the same thing, or is it like a spirit box that's
No.
Okay. So
no,
what is
it's an asset for the spirit box. What it does is it clears up everything. It's actually, it adds another dimension to it. And music, sounds like you've never heard before will come out of this. And the clarity of what you're hearing, you don't hear all and you can tell the difference between if you hear, like when somebody's doing a commercial, they're reading from a script, or it's not conversation. And that's what I want people to understand, is that just open your mind a little bit and check out my stuff. You'll believe.
Right. I mean, you've played some things for me, and it's just like every hair on my body stands up. And this is an interesting question that we got off of one of our viewers on Instagram. E. Morales is asking, hey, Eddie, do voices sometimes manifest into anything visual for you or for anybody else? Or is that like a completely different thing?
No, I can't say that's it's never happened, but it would probably be a shadow or something like that. But I've never seen anything visualized from any spirit that I've been speaking with.
And I'm glad you said that, because I think that's a pretty common question. As you know, it starts as you might feel something, then you might hear something, and then you might see something. And of course, that happens, I'm sure, with some people, with different ways of reaching out to the paranormal. Annie has an interesting question for you. What time in your life did you start getting into the world of ghosts? So how old were you when you first had that interest in the paranormal?
About 50 something, and I'm 65 now. So.
Okay. So
yeah,
decade or so you've been involved in this.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is there a, and this kind of goes to another follow-up question from Annie. Is there a EVP that for you was just like the greatest get that says, okay, I caught something here? And do you remember what that was?
Let me think. Yeah, the first one. When I finally got in the spirit box and I got a speaker, and I was on my front porch and I had it running, and I was so excited. I ran in to tell my wife, Jenny, I'm like, this thing's working. And I got to the door, and as I grabbed the handle, I just happened to say, is anybody here? And the next thing I heard was trapped. So yeah, that was the first one and it really, I was just like, this is unbelievable.
Right. You were hooked. You're like, oh my gosh, this actually works. This is the thing.
It's on now.
Now, we've had a lot of interesting conversations over the years, Vic, about these spirits. And I remember one of the first things I asked you, I was like, oh, is this spirit that you're communicating with stuck in this location? And you were like, spirits can kind of come and go wherever they want. Is that still kind of how you've experienced the spirit box and the portal?
As I go on in this, I learn more and more. And I think that some of them are trapped. I think some of them are They're afraid to move on. I think some might have been put where they're at. I can't really say that for sure. But and if you go to different places, you're going to run across different spirits. And I mean, and the one thing I want everybody to realize is that they are everywhere. They are around us every single day, and you just can't see them or hear them. You have to go seek them out.
Right, which is exactly what you do.
So I have a question for you. I have a question for you, Vic. This is so interesting. Thank you for being so honest and transparent about all of this. So,
Okay.
was there something that happened when you said you started getting into ghosts and the spirit boxes at age 50? Was there something that happened? Was there an event? Was there a moment? Did something happen in your life where you started suddenly?
YouTube. I ran across YouTube and IPRA, and believe a paranormal experience, and I love those guys. They're just like, I'm definitely in awe of them. And if it's okay, there's another guy that I've gotten a lot of inspiration from over the years, and his name is Ryan Dunn. He's a paranormal investigator out of Savannah, Georgia. He runs tours, ghost tours. He's an accomplished author, but this guy is the real deal. I mean, when you go investigate with him, you're gonna go on an adventure. But I really owe him a lot. I lost you guys.
I love that you say it that way because each investigation really is like its own adventure. And I'm curious, have you ever? I always think of like the Ouija board in our Ouija board room upstairs here at the Phantom History House. People are like, oh, I want to communicate with Great Aunt Edna, or I want to talk to my great-great-grandmother. Have you ever been able to identify a voice or a spirit that was connected to you in some way like that, like a family member or an ancestor or somebody else?
No, not in that way. But they've come through and either said my mother's name, which was Hazel, is not a common name, and Melvin was my father. My brother Mike. I've asked them. I said, "Can you tell me my brother's name?" Mike. I mean,
yeah,
and that wasn't the radio. And another thing that I'm sorry, I interrupted.
No, it can't be a coincidence, something like that. And and so many people have experienced this. We have Elsie watching on Instagram, and she's talking about they stayed in the castle room one night and caught a really cool EVP that said "Welcome." And of course, we always tell everybody we want the spirits here to be welcoming. We want people to feel comfortable. And fortunately, that tends to be what has happened here. And that leads me to my next question for you, or I guess the topic with you is not too long after we launched. Actually, I think it was the day we launched the Oldsmar Ghost Tour. You came over to the house, and after taking the tour, and sat here in the potion room and ran the spirit box. I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about that experience while you were here in this room.
It was awesome, and I would encourage anybody to go to the Phantom History House. Not only is it beautiful, it's one of the most comfortable places that I've walked into, and it's very inviting, and I believe that the spirits there are very friendly. I didn't feel anything negative at all when I was there, but I caught lots of responses. But one of the other things that I did catch while I was in there and running the spirit box and the portal, I had said, and I often say this, if you can use your voice and you speak, we'll be able to hear you. And then in order for these voices to be heard 9 times out of 10, they've got to go through the spirit box, come from the spirit box, go through the portal. Well, this voice was caught outside of that. And it felt and heard and sounded like it was right next to me. And when I said that, he said, "Not true."
Had a little bit of attitude.
It was funny. It was very funny. And that is another thing. I mean, sometimes these guys will crack you up. It just, it just depends on what you're talking about. And I'm kind of quirky, so there's no telling. I'll start singing, or As a matter of fact, the other night when I did one, I asked them if they wanted me to be their singer. The first response was nope. The next one said good night. And then another one in a sing-song voice said, kill us.
So they did not want the concert from Vic. And hey, Haiti, I see you watching. Good to see you. So I wanted to bring that up, your experience in the potion room, because we have another EVP that was caught by feeling paranormal in our potion room. And I wanted to play this for you. It's only like 12 seconds. It's really, really brief, but check this out.
Wow. And then I was speaking of, in my head, I feel it pass. And I said it.
So there's a whispered voice in there about halfway through. I don't know if you were able to pick up on it or not. But we'll play it one more time, and then I'll tell you what to listen for the third time around.
Wow. And then I was speaking of, in my head, I feel it pass. And I said it.
I'm not sure.
So, right, I know it's hard, like on these kind of broadcast things, and I know it's always easier to hear it on headphones too. But
True.
It's right at the time that you see the person walk in front of the camera, and the word that we think it says is the word password. Why it would say password, I don't know. But check it out one more time.
Wow. And then I was speaking of, in my head, I feel it pass. And I said it.
That was it.
That was it. And I have to say, Tiffany Phelan of Phelan Paranormal has spent so much time looking through these and sending these to us and giving us permission to use them, which is so cool. And this actually leads to
those guys.
Me too. And this leads to a question that Annie actually just asked too, is in your experience in the past 10, 15 years that you've been doing this, you're such a calm guy and you always handle yourself so well with the EVPs. Have you ever picked up anything through the portal or through the spirit box that has just like unsettled you, made you uncomfortable, creeped you out?
Yeah.
Is there anything like that stands out? And can you give an example?
Yeah. It's when you end up speaking to a real demon or they reach out, and they don't do it often because they don't want to be, it's like turning their hand. Okay, they don't really want to do that. Their agenda is not speaking to you on the spirit box. But if you upset them, sometimes they'll reach out, and they want you to hear. They want you to be afraid. And I'm really not afraid of them, but I have been. Yeah, I mean, I've had things said to me, and I've been called things, and I've been pushed. I've been had my hair played with, and actually the first time my wife and I went to a haunted location, we were downstairs. They started telling us everything that was going on, and I was a mover for like 30 years. My back didn't hurt for like 2-3 days before this, and then all of a sudden the left side of my back just blew up. So they can reach out to you.
And
if they want.
I also want to throw in there that this is a rare occurrence. You don't usually encounter these kind of entities.
No.
Okay.
No.
So don't anybody get freaked out and get too scared of this.
No, I mean, I think anytime you turn it on, you know, I believe a lot of it is your attitude and your protection. You know,
Right.
I'll never leave home without it.
Absolutely.
I mean,
and of course, there's strength in numbers when you investigate in a group.
Yeah.
And I'm also curious is while you're doing, and I've seen you do this work with the spirit box in a group setting, and there's psychics around, there's other very sensitive people. Has it ever lined up to where it's like you're picking up something that's a little bit uncomfortable or strange, and they may pick up something similar or say, oh, it's heavy or it doesn't feel right? Has that ever lined up for you?
Yeah, most definitely. I mean,
Okay.
The longer you do this, the more likely it is that it'll happen.
Yeah.
But it really depends, like where are you going? You know what I mean? If you're going to a cemetery or some dilapidated building, there's some famous haunts out there that if you go to them, you have to sign a waiver. So if anything happens to you, you're not going to seek litigation.
Right. Absolutely.
No, I
and
just
I wanted to ask you this too. When you because I've seen you work with the spirit box. You've done it on investigations. You've done it in public. You just kind of plop down and you start doing it. When somebody approaches you who has not seen a spirit box before or may not know you, and they're like, "Hey, dude, what are you doing?" One, does that happen? And what is like your elevator explanation of what's going on?
Oh, I try to just be as brief, and I was on a property at one point that's there's several people that have businesses there, and a gentleman was very abrupt with me and wanted to know what I was doing, and I said, "Sir, if you want me to leave, I'll leave." And but he ended up being all right about it, and but that's pretty rare. Sometimes you'll have people asking you, they'll come up and ask you, "What are you doing?" And I tell them, sit down for a minute.
Yeah, and I think that it's so funny. Annie, I think Annie and I are like on the same page because every time I get ready to ask a question, I see it
I
pop
love her. She's a good girl.
Yeah, Annie, you and I need to talk. I think we're on the same wavelength. I'm curious, and this will tie into one of my final questions as we wrap up too. Is as you do this, do you think that spirits or whomever's out there is learning that you're the guy that will listen to them? And do you think you've made yourself, to use Annie's phrase, more open to them? Do you think that kind of helps in what you're able to discover?
Yeah, I believe it's a couple of things. I believe that I have a natural inclination to this. I believe that for some reason, I don't know why, but either it's the way I engage them, they can feel your honesty, or they're not dummies. I mean, you can't go in. It's like you have to coax them at times, placate them at others, or not placate them, but you have to try to bring them along. And I feel like the last one I did, I had such a connection. It was incredible. I can't hear them again. They're talking, but
There you go. I've seen you with those connections, and it's really cool to kind of watch you. I know that we did an investigation at a local wedding venue here not too long ago. You and I was along for the ride, and you were there, and you were picking up these really cool names from like that lined up directly to the time of when that place was a church. And I've seen that happen. So I always say my final question, but there's probably going to be a question after this. What is your advice for somebody who is interested in EVPs, who is interested in spirit box work? How does somebody get started in this? I mean, I know you saw it on YouTube and you kind of, found your way through. What is your advice to somebody who's at the beginning of this, and how do they get involved?
I think that YouTube is a great place to start. You want to find somebody that's been doing it for a while. I think that everybody's got their own methods. Their own way of setting up the spirit box. It's just the way I did it. I got the spirit box and a speaker, and I'd be willing to help out anybody that needs help.
That's very cool. I have a question for you as we're wrapping up here, Vic. It's so interesting, the work you do. My impression is a lot of this work is you're doing an investigation. You make all of these recordings, and then you have to go back and make sometimes multiple cameras around the house. Then you have to go back and listen carefully with headphones to all those maybe hours of
That's the hardest part.
So this is my question for you. I mean, it's just an incredible amount of patience and dedication to that craft. I understand I imagine there's sort of like a treasure hunt aspect to it. Like you're waiting for that moment where you find something really cool. But like, how do you manage the length of time and the amount of patience it takes to search?
I love it because I know I every time I do it, it's different. I'm going to hear something different. I mean, there are some places that I've gone that I've heard the same spirits over. I've heard them again, and but it's just most interesting thing I've ever done in my life. And that's why, it is tedious listening back and going, oh, okay, and trying to clear this up. But I get so much clear stuff now that it's easy compared to
You've
what
just
it
gotten
was.
better and better at it. I guess it makes sense. It's how it works with everything you do.
Yeah, lots of time.
And I want to say thank you to everybody that's been watching and sending in questions and being a part of this conversation. Your input's been really, really interesting. I thought this has been really, I think a lot of people are interested in this, and now we've given them some ideas on what to do.
Yeah, absolutely. And like I said at the beginning of the conversation, when I first met Vic, I had just started the podcast. I was brand new to this world. I'm still very new to this world. And I was blown away by this man I met in this park who had these devices and was showing me how they would work. And he was, Vic, you were just so welcoming and forthcoming with information and to answer my questions. So thank you for that. I'm so glad that we've been able to keep going on this long.
Anything you need, you know that.
Well, I definitely appreciate that. And I guess I know the answer to this question, but if somebody were to ask you, hey, Vic, is there life after death? What do you say?
Yeah. Yes.
You didn't have to think about it.
That was fast answer.
That was a fast answer.
100%.
Well, Vic, thank you so much for chatting with us. I could talk about this all night, but I don't want to keep you up longer than our 40 minutes or so. Did you have any
How old do you
questions?
think I am?
No, I just think it's so interesting.
How about us?
And I appreciate you being on Phantom History House Calls tonight. And everybody, we're doing this every week, trying to do it on Wednesday nights at 7 Eastern. So if you're enjoying this, go just keep paying attention to social media and see who the next guest is going to be, and tune in.
Yeah, we're always looking
Thanks so much for having me. Very much appreciated.
And we'd love having you out at the house. Come out and see us again. And to Tim's point, thank you everybody for watching us. Holly, who was a recent guest here at Phantom History House, is watching tonight. So thank you, Holly. Tell your Aunt Dorothy we said hello. And remember, you can find us this weekend at the Spookeasy in Ybor City. We'll be there with Kristen, who's going to be doing some free tarot card readings. And check out our event calendar. We have a lot of stuff coming up.
Well, so Vic, don't go anywhere. But everybody else, thank you so much for watching. We really appreciate this conversation. It was really great.
It was really great. EVPs, check them out. And we're going to work with Vic to get his stuff on YouTube so everybody can check it out.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.